comes to supporting like refugees, migrants, or displaced people. And basically that's the plan. Does it sound okay for you, this plan? And of course, I would like us as a Citarians, let's say, to also think that where we can contribute. Okay, so maybe I will invite Brent. Can you say like 3 sentences, please? And I'm sorry to be so zoomy, you know.
No problem. Yes, I'm Bernd Gibson. I'm in France, but I'm German originally. And yes, I was interested in the subject, as I'm interested in all the DMeetUps. Personal experience with refugees, not so much, apart from the occasional personal chance encounter when I tried to be of help of some sort. But I think I could do more.
Thank you. And maybe you can invite another person, or as you...
Okay, so I would invite Natalia.
Hello, I am very bad speak English, але то я, може, Анну запрошу перевести. Можна запросити? Тому що я розумію по-англійську, але дуже погано розмовляю. Так, і тому не буду позоритися перед публікою. Але я також займаюся українськими біженцями в Польщі, в Вроцлаві, і працюю научним співробітником в Польській академії наук, і вже майже рік займаюся цією справою, і маю публікації, конференції і також виклади на англійській мові. 2 лекції, але тут треба підготуватися. Якщо можна, ви переведете це.
Anna, do you speak Ukrainian? Can you translate?
No, but I understood, but I think you will do it better.
Natalia, first of all, don't worry. Natalia is actually an expert because he has been working on the problem of the refugees for a long time, and he has been also a member of the academy in Poland. So, but recently, during the last year, she has been studying the Ukrainian refugees in Poland, and she wrote several papers, and she also presented the findings of the researchers. So that's why she's interested in this topic, and she would like to contribute somehow and to listen today. Natalia, something like captured something.
So Natalia, I really hope you will share your research and
Liliana has written that she cannot be seen. But she works with the refugees, and she would only listen today.
Okay, so you can also, Liliana, if you have possibility, you can also share on chat with us. Okay, thank you, Natalia. So maybe Anya. I'm just...
Hello, everybody. My name is Anya Achenbach. I'm based in Italy, but my origin is German. And well, I'm an intercultural business trainer, but with this topic, I was more in touch on a voluntary basis so far. So teaching refugees some German, and being very aware of the fact that they came from different countries in those times, and I was very aware that they must have been through many traumas, and now they were like in the German school system, so they were teenagers, and they had to function in that system somehow. So how do you deal with that, and how do you maybe lighten their weight in some way.
Thank you.
Okay, and I give the floor to Vincent.
Thank you, Anya. Hi, everybody. Vincent, French-Dutch, based in the Netherlands. I've retired now from my university position. I still work as an independent consultant. Refugees, I did some work some years ago with Syrian refugees and Afghan refugees we had at the university. So I had students as refugees. So that's because this is my, my academic world, of which I know what is going on there. So I limited myself indeed to refugees being in our university setting students. Yeah, that's my occupation. And I did some work in Krakow in Poland many years ago. So that's very nice memory of Krakow. That's it. Yeah, thank you. I'll give the floor to Christine.
Thank you so much, Vincent. Yes, I am actually based in the southwest of Ireland, but despite of my accent, I'm originally Dutch-German, but I'm here 40 years. So there you go. I'm linked to the MTU, which is the Monster Technology University, and I had a lot of active links with Theatre Ireland, but then just got too busy because I'm actually not teaching anymore intercultural communication and German, which is my original teaching task, but I now doing EU Commission funded projects in Erasmus Plus full-time by default. And I'm interested in that subject anyhow, because Ireland has taken on a lot of Ukrainian refugees, but I wanted to share with you, and I do that later in the chat. You might know Gary Thomas from Assisi MBH, who was, I think, the president, and Simona, his colleague. So I've worked with Gary before. I actually introduced him to EU Commission funded projects. Very happy to have done that. And one of the early projects is Vocal in Need. That is specifically material and language material, interculture and language learning. And we got a European language label for that as an EU Commission funded project. So I will share the link with you. Like, I'm interested in the subject, but I definitely thought that that might be some good, nice resource. Okay, and then, yeah, sorry, I have to leave at 5 because I have another, it's a bank holiday here, but I have another online meeting. That's how it goes, yeah. So delighted to join you. Thank you so much. Or do I need to say, yeah, maybe Paula? May I invite you to introduce yourself, please?
Yes, I'm from Italy, from Città Italia. With regard with this topic, I conducted a research about how to fight the fear for foreigners in last years. Then I also facilitated the work about simplifying the language in public administration. And I coordinated many groups of voluntary teachers of Italian as second language, sharing difficulties in teaching the language and managing a correct relationship.
Thank you, Paola. And can you invite someone?
Pardon?
Can you invite another person to introduce?
Yes, I could invite, let me see, Catherine Roignan.
Hello. So I'm an intercultural trainer and consultant. I'm working with companies, public administration, and NGOs, and I've been involved with accompanying migrants and also training migrants accompaniers for several years. We did together with Grazia Ghelini, Mohamed Antar, we did a specific diversity game to welcome migrants, to help welcoming migrants in France, where I'm actually based and from, as you probably can hear, which is available online. Maybe some of you have already had the opportunity to use it. So it's available online for free for anyone who wants to make more familiar with French ways of life and thinking, and also making French people more familiar with people coming from other countries. And of course, as migrants come from many origins and new migrants come in, we need to learn every day. So I feel the need to learn every day. So thank you, Anna, for sharing.
Thank you. And maybe Brigitte, can you continue, please? You are muted. No, you are still muted. Oh,
yes,
it's okay.
Yes.
Okay. I'm from Germany. I'm working with refugees since 2015, of course. I'm supporting them in the camp. I started with a intercultural training in form of a theater with a group, and now I'm supporting them. And on the other side, I'm teaching with intercultural trainings the staff of a big refugee camp in Germany, and so I have always directly contact with all the migrants, and also I'm supporting people who are coming in this country to find a job and to find a way of life here. And it's not easy to come and to find a place, not the flat, I mean, to feel home. And I feel this, it's very, very difficult. I'm supporting people since 5, 6, 7, 8 years, and they're working and still they need support. It's not easy. So I'm always in contact with all these people, not only refugees, also migrants who are coming here for work, maybe doctors from Israel or other countries and Syria, and no refugees. And so I'm supporting them in many cases. And of course, I'm supporting them to deal with all our fantastic ministries. Yes.
Thank you very much. And I'm sorry, just like you are Cindy or Kathleen, I'm sorry, because now you are under Cetar Europa, and I'm sorry, I don't remember your name.
Cindy.
Cindy, okay, thank
My
you.
colleague is Cindy, yeah.
Sorry, I should have changed my name. My name is Cindy. I was born in the United States, but I haven't been there for a very, very long time. So I'm not really connected with that culture anymore. I've lived in many different countries for 26 years. I have a very limited background with the subject of refugees. So I'm here today just to learn from you. And I call on Victoria.
Yeah, and I'm the last one, and then we'll start the presentation, Anya, all right? So before the Russia's invasion, I didn't have any experience to work with the refugees. But when the big war started, of course, I have been volunteering a lot, and I have been working like formally and informally with a lot of people who left the country and settled down somewhere else, I hosted in other countries. So in this way, I became familiar with the work that other people around the globe do to welcome those people, to host them, to help them to adapt, or just simply, to stretch the helping hand to them in their daily life. So that's my experience. It is limited, but this is very intensive during the last for 100 and almost 70 days.
Thank you very much, Victoria, and thank you all for sharing. As I know it took some time, but as we can already see, I really see like a lot of assets here already in Sietar by the way you presented yourself, and this what you already do to support refugees in many different contexts, right? Like to do the research, to see what's working well, what's not working, to support people directly, to host people in home, to do adaptation trainings, support with language or forum theater, right? They're all very good forms to support. So let me say a few things also like in this theme. Here is the title, and as you can see, I put it here like a drawing to open this with a drawing. It's a drawing from of a kid that I used to work like, I don't know, many years ago, and he drew something like that. And later also, I started to use this drawing to talk about refugees and war with Polish kids, like before the war in Ukraine, like many years ago, when war was a kind of abstract to most of the people in Poland and most of the, children here, to make them like a bit understanding and aware, what is this about? I showed them this, and I asked them, do you think there was such a superhero, right? And they said, no, of course there was not. And they said like, okay, so why do you think the kid drew it? And they perfectly knew without knowing the kid that because he was wishing that there would be someone who would have this superpower to protect him or her and stop this, what is happening, right? So it was like from the kid's perspective, but I think that still, as an adults, we would like to sometimes to have this magic power, but this is not what we have. And to be honest, also with this time of working, I really like this Helen Keller quote that there is like a lot of suffering in the world, but there is also like a lot, world is full of overcoming it, right? So there is like this hope that still, unfortunately, like the wars, violence, they exist. I think they will always be in the world, but still, I think there is like a more good, right? And more of good. So we'll not go like very much into details because you are aware of who is refugee, but I put it also here in this presentation, right? The definition of who is refugee, only to show that the refugees, they have to like generally they have to prove individually that they are in the danger because of these reasons that are stated here, right, in the country of origin. And well, my practice shows that a lot of people who would deserve to be considered refugees according to the standards are not given the status, or they have to wait for the decision very long. Like sometimes, and some of you who work in refugee centers also have this experience, to know people who wait, for example, for 8 years in the procedure, so-called procedure, to wait for the decision. And sometimes they are permitted to stay, sometimes, unfortunately, they have to go back. Like recently, for example, to go back and go to the country that fights now with Ukraine, which is like a vicious circle. But anyway, the law is, and again here, I will not read it carefully, but like to only to show that being a refugee, it's not like a kind of pity call. I'm sorry for my English sometimes, but I hope you understand. It's just right. So the people, they have the right, and they have the right to be not expelled from their country. They have the right to education, the freedom of religion, non-discrimination. This is the right. This is also because refugees are those who are like in the other countries. For Poland, is what I said, are like also asylum seekers. So those that are waiting for the procedure, they are not given status yet. But also it is important to remember about internally displaced people, and like to know that most of because there are also like those stereotypes, right? That most of the refugees, they come to the rich countries of the West, like US, Germany, I don't know, other like countries. But actually most of them, they stay inside the countries where war is happening, or like in the surrounding areas, right, in that countries that are not so rich. And this is from the report from last year: 71.1 million internally displaced people, and last year was like the amount was growing. The amount of people, it's not going down, it's growing. But to be honest, like in Poland, this is what is happening now. I will speak from the Polish context because this is where I work mostly. It is like a special situation because not ever in the world so many refugees people came to Poland, right? And generally to the region of Central Europe. And to be honest, like despite of having like a lot of years of some practice working with refugees, or having also like a lot of migration from Ukraine, still, I mean, this number and the country was not prepared for this situation that happened. And I must say that most of the things, so probably you can read in a lot of reports that about crisis, some chaos, etc., etc. Also, there were like some positive, probably information about the support, but I must say that a lot of this were done by bottom-up initiatives. So, for example, like here you can see a picture from the main railway station in Warsaw, and like for mostly like for the first weeks, mostly who worked there were like volunteers who like organized, themselves, created like a group of people who worked there, divided themselves into sections, for example, like food, crisis management, safe space for women, etc., like animals, right? Like this kind of sections. And later then came some, let's say, more like the help from state and more like organized help. Of course, like I guess that being an internally displaced person or a refugee is like one of the most, I would say, like psychologically and life challenge, right? That can happen because, like, generally, we all have some stress in life, right? We all face some changes in life, but this is like a really big change, really sudden change of life. And this is like the situation that the challenges go very high, they rise, and the resources, they go down, right? And so this is causes stress, and this is like a big change where everyone needs to solve a lot of issues at the same time, like housing, education, food, medical support, finding a new work, etc., etc. And it's all at the same time. That's why it is a crisis situation, and it can also create psychological crisis, right? Like we have here the Maslow pyramid. So actually you could see that those, I mean, the refugees, we have to take care like of the basic needs here, but also like physical needs, safety, but belonging is very important. And of course, like, and I also think that it's like the self-actualization needs are also very important. Of course, a lot of refugees were exposed to traumatic events. Not all of them. We can go into discussion what is trauma and how it is perceived, right? That it is like a subjective experience of sudden event, but a lot of them face trauma, and trauma has like big impact on body, on emotions, on thoughts, on relationship, of cognitive abilities. So it has a lot of impact. Maybe it is also a thing to discuss how to support and how to address those needs, because it is also important to remember, as I said, that not every refugee is traumatized, and also that, and even those that are traumatized, like most of them will heal with a good support. They will heal, but of course there's like a percentage that will not heal and need specialistic help, like psychotraumatologists, etc. But not every refugee needs to be addressed to and work with therapists or psychotraumatologists. It is more important to create like a resilient conditions. So how can we support, and what? Oh, sorry, and what we can do? Here I just wrote some big international organization that support refugees, and like a site with the bigger organizations. It can be also useful. And also I must say that a lot of them were present in Poland before, but a lot of them appeared more extensively in that time, and it was important. And also there were like very good very good examples of that, but also some not so good. We can also discuss about that. And I wrote here like some, let's say, recommendations when it comes to support refugees. And this is what I find important, but also I talked with some people from organizations that I respect here in Poland, and I asked them what was important, what worked. And this is very important role. Maybe for you for us as interculturalists, this is something obvious, right? Because we know how to include people, but I guess that for most society in Poland, to be honest, this is not so obvious. Sometimes, or even for big organizations, right? Some of them have a plan and have this idea, do things, and just do their things, right? And not checking if it's relevant, if it's necessary, if it's culturally appropriate. So this is very important. That nothing about or nothing for us without us. And this what was very helpful in Poland, that we had a lot of Ukrainian and Russian speaking people who were here like before, right? Because in Poland we had a big Ukrainian migration before. So we had a lot of people who could work first as volunteers and then later as workers to support refugees. So the intercultural assistant, mentors, specialists, translators, these are like, I would say they were like the most important people to support the newcomers, right? Because this is generally like the society, we could communicate, we could understand better, we could talk, we could connect. And the mentors are very important in every aspect. For example, in schools, like this intercultural assistant, cultural assistants are very important. And a lot of, so like at first when it started, some of them were working as volunteers, but the organizations were looking for possibilities to hire people so that they can support. And also like a lot of specialists came to Poland. So like therapists, psychologists, which is also like a bit tough sometimes because these people also like experience difficult time themselves, but nevertheless they want to work, they want to contribute, they want to feel the power to support. And so, for example, this what I value, that the international organization, that the big organizations that came to Poland did, they were looking also like for the local NGOs, the Polish, and for example also like Ukrainian, right, that before, let's say, organization was like 5 people, and in short time they became like 50 people, right, because that was the need. But also it was important to train and support, and also to support and take care of those people, to have a supervision, to train them so that they could work better. Again, maybe something, I don't know, maybe it's like a kind of obvious, but not always, like stronger together. So it was very important here, like the collaboration of NGOs. And I must say that it was kind of, before we had like this crisis in Belarusian border. I don't know if you know about that. That's the shadow part of Polish politics. It's the right that some people are not accepted when they pass from the Belarusian border. So a lot of organizations started to work before in that crisis. I mean, collaborating with each other. So then already it was easier to collaborate. And there are like examples, like when the state was very slow, people were very fast and the organizations were very fast. And for example, in Lublin, one city, like in 2 days, they already had like a whole system of, supporting with, I don't know, 17 section, many organizations working together, representative from the local community, etc. So that was very impressive. And generally, I would say it's also good that organizations specialize in some field, because I think it's not possible that we all do the same. But at the same time, so it's important to know who is doing what. But at the same time, I think it's also important that, for example, there is no like one organization who has a kind of monopoly of some kind of support, because also people have the right to choose. Another very important thing is support and power and not dependency. And here I'm talking in every possible aspect, knowing how hard it is sometimes. I must say that plus of this, what was different than, for example, like previous politics than people coming from Syria, from other countries, that here we had like a special law which said that all of Ukrainian people are welcome, right? They will not go into asylum procedure. Generally, if you cross the border, if you're like from Ukraine, you can stay, you are permitted to stay. And I think this is like a game changer. Like for me, it is really like a game changer, because like I said, then you are not in the limbo state for many years, and that makes the difference. And And I know that like a lot of refugees, they have like needs, huge needs in many areas, but it is like important to have this in mind. So for example, like I talked with one organization and they had a medical assistant, right? So a person who helps with organizing and subscribing to the medical system, to go to the doctor. But they were also like very trained and careful not to make the refugee dependent on that person. So for example, like not that always this person would do everything for her. So it was like that at first. They showed her like how to do it, went together, but then only like did it by phone, and then only supported if needed. So it was like this gradually to show. And also I think it is very important. Another very important thing is there something, can I ask if there is something important on the chat, like for me to comment or not? Sorry.
Yes, there are a couple of things here on the chat that I think,
Okay.
can you hear me? Yes. Liliana said it's important to value life experience because they lose confidence. And it seems that that the above is not valuable. And to work out that migrating in forced conditions is complex and it takes time to settle down and establish roots.
Yes, of course, this is like very important, and I fully and of course sometimes like this some of the expectations are like not realistic for some people, right? So let's say like so after like refugee generally like after refugee procedure, like normally there was like 1 year of adaptation like support, and for some people it's enough, but for some people it's really not enough time. So this is very very also subjective, and I think it's also you cannot compare, and you have to always look individually. And this is also like sometimes the matter of perspective, right? Because like for example like when it came to housing, like housing is generally like a very big problem for refugees, for internally displaced people. And in Poland, like at the first time, it was like private people who were inviting people to homes, hosting them, giving them, you know, the properties which they rent normally. But then I guess that some of them didn't somehow expect like how long person or how short, it's a subjective, person needs to adapt to be able to be independent again, right? So
Anna, we've got one hand raised. George would
yes.
like to
Yes.
ask a question or to make a comment, and I wonder if we are already in the discussion mode. And if we are already in the discussion mode, then probably you will just close the presentation and we'll continue without
Okay.
it, or you have not finished yet.
Okay, so maybe
because I've got like 15 minutes.
Okay, so maybe 3 minutes more like here that
Great.
I will show you, and then we'll continue the discussion.
All right, thanks.
George, so would you like to comment now, or like
Up to you, Anna.
Okay, so just give me then 3 more minutes, and then we will
Okay.
continue with the discussion. Okay, so this is very important also, the language barrier, and that this help is accessible. And by accessible, I mean that in Poland we had like consultation centers in which a refugee could come and do like a lot of consultation in one place, right? So psychological, with the lawyers, with other type of information. And also some of these points that were created, they are like going from places to go to these remote places. And also it's very important to take care like of, you know, for example, of the kids, right? That the mothers can use this kind of information or assistance. This is also very important to encourage, activate, but not force. And so sometimes like this interventions are gradual. So like in a lot of organization, we start like some activities that are aimed for children, or like integration activities. And then by time we propose like, let's say, some vocational training, right? And also it's very important to that the people have the right to refuse, and also to understand their costs, right? So for example, for us, it can be like a great initiative, great training, but also to understand that there are some costs for the person to take care. And it is also very important to remember about the context. So to remember about the whole hosting society. And this, what I mean by that, for example, when let's say when children went to school, right? So they, for example, there were some conflicts about such trivial things like that, why the refugees can use phone and the Polish kids not. So this is like a important thing to remember and to train people to explain why these people receive support. There are also like a lot of good practices. If you're interested, I can share it with you, tools that are evidence-based when it comes to psychological support, some recommendation by WHO. And this was like very also important here, that people were trained, and for example, people that work directly with refugees were trained on that. And this is always very important to remember about groups with special needs within the refugees. So not treat them as one group. Here I will send you also the core humanitarian standards. And this, what I also wanted to say, that like I said, also with this psychosocial support, that not experts are needed immediately, and it is more important to support, let's say, teachers, nurses, social workers, to be able to treat people with approach people with such experience. And here in this presentation that I will send you, I also wrote some things about some trauma, and I recommend you this emotion aid, some tips how to approach that. Okay, so maybe I will close the presentation now. Of course, I have like too many things here, but I'm opening this discussion.
Anna, thank you very much. So what we have understood, that you've got plenty of information to share, and it's a pity that, you know, we have only 1 hour and plus 15 minutes, mainly for those who would like to stay a little bit longer, because there is a lot of expertise within yourself, but also within the group. So thank you very much. What I would liked most, that there is nothing about us without us. This is just that's about the refugees and displaced people. So they would like to be an active participants of the process, and that's very important. And sometimes we do not allow them to be. So that resonates with me very well. But also I've got this question, because so that's what we have been discussing for a long time. With Ukrainians now being refugees and temporarily hosted people, So some other refugees who arrived to different countries earlier, they feel they might feel, or I think that they do feel discriminated, basically. And this is something that I think that there is a separate set of questions that we have to address, because I mean, we've got conflict on conflict, but but there are a lot of course things that you have mentioned that could be discussed. So I would invite everyone now to contribute to the discussion. And again, thank you, Anna, you have raised a lot of interesting issues.
Thank you. George, you wanted to
Yeah,
comment.
I'm sorry. The doorbell rang and the phone rang at the same time as you addressed me. At any rate, I just wanted to really reaffirm what you're up to here. But I also want to invite the people who are involved in this. You may know we have created games for refugee groups and the people who receive them in our diversity series, and we're wide open for updating, adding to, creating to, and all of this is done gratis. Okay, it's we're paying for whatever needs to be done in the development ourselves, and we're providing it for free to anybody who can use it. So I just wanted, I'm going to leave my email address, and if anybody wants to work in this direction, wants to add to this, they're most welcome, and I'll support them and do the work that's needed to be done to make that stuff come about quickly. You know, we've had the Ukraine game, for example, translated into 13 languages for the Ukraine, but it needs updating. You know, things are happening, and we need what's happening to play back into the games. So thank you very much for this, and I'm sorry for the curious interruption I had earlier. Thank you.
Thank you, George. And Catherine actually already published the link to the diversity game.
Oh, good. Okay.
Mhm.
Birgit, you were nodding your head when I was talking. Probably you could also step in, say something.
Yes, I'm here. Okay. Okay.
Okay. Mhm.
You don't hear me?
Vincent?
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Wait. Okay, again. What is the problem here?
Brigitte, we hear you well.
Yeah, you hear me. Okay, it's okay.
Very well.
Good, good, good. I hear all these words from you. I can underline everything because I have this experience. I don't know where I can start. So if somebody has questions, because I don't want to repeat all what you said. Okay.
All right. Thank you, Birgit. Vincent?
Yeah, just, well, thank you, Anna, first of all, for all the large overview of all the issues involved. I think it was very useful and good reminders. Maybe I just contribute two things from the Netherlands. Clearly, one refugee is not the other. There are a great variety of refugees. There's a hierarchy of refugees. Ukrainian families are very welcome now, whereas on the other side, young men from Muslim countries clearly are not very welcome. I think we all know that. But I think that's one point. And it's interesting to see that the Dutch government at the moment is forcing the municipalities to set up places for refugees because they're expecting, a large wave again of refugees in the coming months here. So interesting to see that. Well, yeah, what I just said. On the one hand, they would prefer to have families, and on the other hand, they don't want to have any, those lonely men coming there. Many of them are not even from an eligible refugee status country. So this is the whole situation. I think another point I'd like to contribute is to see that in the Netherlands we have a very low unemployment. So skilled refugees will be very welcome to join the workforce, but they're not allowed until they are, I think, at least 1 year, have a status, of course, and 1 year. So now you see that one of the coalition parties has now put a bill to allow refugees, I think after a few months, I'm not too sure, at least to shorten the term of stay to be able for them to join the workforce, which no doubt will be very helpful for everybody. Clearly, if a refugee can do something, can work, it's for all mental, psychological reasons very useful. And if you can contribute to the local economy, I mean, this the win-win situation in general. So I think I contribute those 2 points in from the Netherlands.
Thank you very much, Vincent. And just before we go to the question, I would like to say that we are 3 minutes before the end of our discussion, but we've got another 15 minutes for those who would like to stay longer. So feel free to choose. And Anna, we've got a question from Natalia. Don't you think that the help of various organizations was very effective at the beginning, but now they are experiencing difficulties in their work? What would you answer?
Okay, so I will just comment this, Natalia, your question in a second, but I really need to strengthen this, what you, Vincent, said. Yes, for me, it's like also very sad. This is what happening, and that Europe is so much afraid of young men, right? From and this is like really bad. So when I was writing about this groups of special needs, and I wrote like about women with children, etc., etc. And at the same time, I wanted also to write like about those men who for example, also faced here like the situation that, let's say, people were not so much willing to, let's say, rent a room, right? Because they would rather rent a room to Ukrainian women with their children than, for example, to young men or to Romas people from Ukraine. And I'm sorry, I'm not like, you know, I'm not comparing people's suffering, but I see it as a big problem. And of course, like in Poland now, we have a law that when it comes to people in procedure, that after half a year you are entitled to work. And this is very important, because like in some countries it used to be like that during whole procedure people couldn't work, and it was sometimes 5-8 years, which was completely ridiculous. And Natalia, thank you for your question. And for example, if you know, yes, this is what's happening and what will happen here when you, for example, know about the adaptation curve, right? When we talk about adaptation for people coming to a new country, and at the first time there is like this honeymoon, right? But then with time there is like this conflict. And I can see that this is happening, or probably will happen here in Poland as well. So at the beginning, it was like, you know, with the help, it was like a kind of honeymoon. People were sometimes like even crazy, like, you know, some men going to the border by the car and then get angry because they were in the traffic jam and they had no one to drive to Warsaw back. I'm exaggerating. It was good that people were, it was needed that people were that helpful. But now that's the challenge, to keep on people interesting, to keep on people, you know, caring, at the same time tackle conflicts and those comments, oh, you know, everything for them and nothing for us, or challenge some difficulties, ridiculous difficulties, for example, less parking slots in Warsaw. But this is the reality, you know, that people get angry because they have to wait longer in the line, or there is less, or the flats are more expensive, really more expensive. So this is the reality. And of course, when the conflict in Ukraine happened, and for example, eyes were taken from Greece, from other places, right? It's always like that. But I wanted us to come up with, go out with more empowering visions, and not this. But this is a marathon, Natalia. This what I understand, that this is a marathon, and I guess that now we as people who are here are more needed, like than in the first phase. Like now it's a different work needed. Work that it's about conflict, it's about understanding issue, about equity. Now it's the education work to be done. Cindy.
As we continue our discussion, I just want to interject very quickly because people do have to leave. I just want to mention very quickly, our next meeting is with Anastasia Shevchenko. She's an urban anthropologist and she studies microcultures, and that will be on the 3rd of July at 12 noon. And now we can continue back, Anna, to our conversation. Thank you.
Yes, and I would like to add just that Kristen has already left, I think, but she said that unfortunately in Ireland, due to the housing crisis, refugees are often not welcome anymore. A very sad development. So this is a kind of, we discussed that, but this is a fatigue from the war probably as well. When people are very enthusiastic at the beginning, and that's what resonates with Natalia's comment. And then, of course, this enthusiasm is fading down. And this is, I mean, this is a natural process, of course.
Yes, it's natural. And like I said, it's also like a work for us to do, but it's also let's say, like at the beginning, most of the support was done by private people, and it's not possible to be done this way. So
they're also tired. They are also tired.
Yeah, especially that some romanticize also help in a way, right? And then they face the reality. So this is also like important to support helpers, right? To take about well-being of helpers.
Yeah, and this is a big issue. I wonder how people are supported. I mean, the helpers are supported. And I would like to ask Grazia to step in, because she has a person who is experienced. She has been hosting refugees and has been working. He is a part of the group who discussed how to support refugees, but also themselves. Grazia, can I invite you?
Yes, I feel a little shy because I have to say I'm mainly not really a trainer of refugees. Really, I just have been hosting several refugees for several years, apart from the last year, because it was a bit difficult for my family. So I found your presentation really interesting, Anna, in fact, and I think you were quite right in insisting on the empowering aspect, indeed, and the emotional, helping them also on dealing with the emotional side of things, because I would say that these are the two elements that really get in the way the most, I would say, besides, of course, the language aspects and the practical aspects and all the rejection that they experience. But first of all, the loss of identity that they experienced by arriving then, perhaps they had great jobs. In fact, most of them had, in fact, jobs like all of us, and some, but they arrived and they lost everything. So the most difficult part is having to cope with the loss of everything, even who they are. Yes. And yes, and then all of these emotions that are very often very negative and so on. And for me, I would say maybe that is what I did the best. I never was very good at being professional about it, and I always became too friends with the people we were hosting. So I wouldn't say that I was an example in that sense, but I think that mainly, in fact, a lot of them really needed help with that aspect, and they thanked me for being there, listening and offering support in that sense. Yes, and definitely also living with a host family was very helpful for them, because when they arrived, they had no clue about not only how to speak the language, because really by being there, they could speak the language and improve the language, but also how to behave, what was expected of them. So it wasn't easy for some of them to live with us. Yes, in fact, with our sets of rules. Of course, when you are part of a family, you have to respect that family's rules. So we were not expecting them to work, but really to fit into our family's patterns, life. And of course, that had positive and negative aspects for them, certainly. But yeah, that way they also learned the French, Italian, French way of living in our household. Yes. But yeah, indeed, for me, the most difficult part was keeping neutral. It was very difficult sometimes. Yeah, when you see somebody very upset, as for me, given my personality, it was not easy. So with its good and bad aspects, but I would say that that is one of the most obvious aspects. Yes, there are lots of negative emotions that need dealing with, and yeah, some of them need to be dealt with by experts. And I was talking, in fact, with one of them, whom I've known for the past 7-8 years. He phoned me yesterday saying, "Yeah, can I talk to you, please?" You know, and it had nothing to do with the asylum anymore, you know, and now he's got a job, he's got a good situation here. But I think one of his main problems was still related to the loss of self-confidence that went with that. So I told him, really, you have to stop feeling guilty for what happened. Then you were not responsible. Yeah. Right. So, but you were witnessing something terrible. You couldn't do much about it. So very often there are these awful scenes that refugees have to witness and can't do much about, and yeah, that stick to their mind and their psychologies and so on. And yes, and very often, yes, I would say the refugees that arrive here. Now, I don't know, in fact, for Ukrainians, in fact, certainly very different thing, very, very different process, but most of them lose their families forever. So when they come here, they, at least the ones we posted, were very happy to be within a family, because that was reassuring. Yeah, so finding a family context was something that, in fact, they really are happy to find regularly. So just say, yeah, now please go ahead with the life, live your life to the full, but we are here. If you need, come talk, we are here for you. We are sort of family for you. So the most difficult thing sometimes for me is detaching myself from them enough to let them live their lives without being too intrusive. Yeah, so as I was telling this refugee who was calling me this weekend, and I was saying, yeah, sorry, I don't call you anymore as often as I did at the beginning, but for me it was too difficult to detach myself from you as I did from the others. But there is, for me, you're a bit like children symbolically, to say, now you have to go live your own lives, and I don't want to be intrusive, but when you need us, please phone, we're here. Yeah. So, but I would say this is my experience as a host family more than anything else. And I've been trying to support refugees also within the associations that I volunteered for. So I have helped, in fact, but I'm saying I've been trying to help for the cultural side of things as well, intercultural side of things. But I found that most of the refugees I was trying to help with that side of things were kind of too busy, too low in the Maslow pyramid of needs. Yeah, so they were too kind of into having problems feeding themselves, finding a place to sleep, and so on, to really, or even like learning the language and so on, enough to really survive here, to really be interested in the cultural aspects. For them, it was like more necessary, in fact, to find a safe place. Yeah.
Yeah, so thank you very much, Grazia. So for sharing your experience of being and feeling together with refugees and hosted people. And it reminded me about the the French-Ukrainian dictionary that I saw in France, and there were several pictures about the needs. If you would like to ask for, for something, and then among those needs, there was one need which was, I was amazed when I saw that. I need a hug, yeah, because this is something that people, especially those people who came from other countries. So maybe hugs, this is something that they really need badly when they are. They need food,
yes.
Of course, they need clothes and everything, but they also need a hug. And I was really touched to see that in this French-Ukrainian dictionary, because it reflects something that it reflects that we're human, and this is still, this bridge between humans rather than refugees and hosts, etc.
Indeed, Victor. Yes, it's very, if I may just add something to that, it's the same refugee. Okay, he was the first one we had. I was not really used to having like anything to do with Muslims, and I had these stereotypes in my mind. Okay, you have to avoid body contact, you have to avoid this and that and so on. And it's so rubbish. It's not true. And anyway, so before leaving, he said, "Grazia, please let me hug you." And I said, "Yes, of course. That's what I need now. I need a big hug to thank you for everything you've done, but also because nobody has hugged me for so long, and now I have to go leave this family. I need a hug." So I said, "Yes, of course." And yes. So, and I hadn't realized that. A refugee need hugs. So
Yeah, so yeah, this is our big assumption that they need food and clothes, and that's really so what they need, and they need job, etc. But we forget sometimes that we also need something warmer than clothes, and these are hugs. Birgit has written that it is really hard to learn how to understand. The refugees need support for many years in our complicated Western world, many chances, but many rules. So complicated. And I would probably disagree a little bit, and I would like to know your opinion, Anna, as well, because we have to close in 3 minutes. But I think that they do not really need the support for many years, because if we do right things from the very beginning, they will be more confident, and they will be more proactive, and they will support themselves. But if we made them dependent, as Anna has mentioned, then of course for many, many years we will be supporting them, and it will just lead to our own frustration and tiredness, but also let them, they will forget how to be independent. Anna, what do you think? Just 1 minute before we finish.
Well, I think that refugees, it's not like a one group. I mean, there are like a certain things that will help us to understand the situation. And it's also very important for them to understand that, you know, I have this problem and it's not about me. It's just like, you know, that's how the adaptation goes. So it helps them also to not to feel, oh, I'm crazy, something is wrong with me. So this is important to understand this. But at the same time, we have to remember that among those people, there are so diverse people. They have so different resources. Some of them really have a huge resources. Some of them have not so many resources. And some of them, yes, will be as Bridget said, some of them will need longer like support, like some of, I don't know, Polish citizens will also need it. So I think it's like that. And also I want to say like one thing to comment on what you, Grazia, said, and thank you and nice to see you again, that I also believe that it's good to have all this knowledge. So be aware, oh, that's trauma, it may be like that. So maybe not ask too many questions, maybe not to come at hack, but at the same time, be open and open to that. No, this person will need a hack, but also it's good to ask and to be mindful, attentive, like in intercultural communication, right? We can have all the basics, we have knowledge about this and that, but at the same time, we have to be very here and now with this concrete person who is in front of us, and have that, but also be authentic, because it's human, and yes, and respect the boundaries of the person, and the need to connect, and to also to say no, and to make decision about her own life. And it's not, yeah, the person can make whatever decision. It's not against us or a lot of this help that we did. It's her or his decision, really. We can just support with information, so it's like informed decision, but it's her or his decision.
Yes, and I think Anya, that we can't agree more. Birgit, final comment. I'm working with refugees since 1914 and met more than 6,000 people. We have so many rules in Germany, and all to know is very hard. I can only confirm that. Because I've heard a lot of comments from, of course, the Ukrainians who are hosted in Germany now, but this is something that might change one day. So I would like to thank Anna and all of us for this wonderful meeting, for our discussion together, and just to remind what Cindy has just said, that on the 3rd of July, we're having the next DMeetUp, and you will hear about this a little bit later from our announcements. 2 minutes, 2 seconds, Anna.
One sentence, because maybe it was like a bit chaotic because it's a big subject, but if you have any need to contact me later, like about this, you know, like, I don't know, standards, recommendations, psychological first help or anything, just please don't hesitate to write. Okay, I'm happy to change, to extend.
Thank you very much again. And there will be a follow-up letter with the presentation, with Anna's presentation attached, and with her details again. So anyone, please contact Anna and benefit from her rich experience. Thank you very much again and again. And we're looking forward to see you next time on the 3rd of July at noon. to discuss the what, Cindy? Micro something.
Microcultures.
Microcultures. Thank you, and have a very nice day. Bye.
Thank you very much.
Victoria. Thank you.